Hello, and welcome to an accident-prone episode of the Drywall Podcast. I'm your host, Nick Harmon. With us today, John Hein out of Salem, Oregon. John is a first-generation drywall finisher who was taught finishing while working for Five Star Drywall in Salem. John and I talk about tape tech versus Columbia, getting his aviation license, and how his string of bad luck has empowered him to keep moving forward. But we also discuss the difficulty of working with others.
I told a guy to go grab a bench out of the van.
Yeah.
And he went up to the second story, and he disappeared for like 20 minutes, and I didn't know what he was doing.
Yeah.
And I went out to the van, and of course the contractor and then the homeowner both were looking at me like, your guy just went upstairs. Why? I'm like, I don't know. I told him to get a bench out of the van. And he thought I told him to get the bench out of the upstairs. And I'm like, no. So by the time I pulled the bench out of the van and I go back to the underpass area that I was working on, I went to go look for my tools, and next you know, I see him out over in the drain cleaning all my tools out. I'm like, hey man, I'm still doing a job. What are you doing? Because I thought you wanted me to clean. I'm like, no.
We also discuss proper technique for handling a 6-inch blade, learning the bazooka and proper bazooka technique. We also talk about licensing and his direction to starting his own company, but also we talk about his affinity for classical music. John is the quintessential drywall worker in the trenches and on site, and he invites us into his world on this episode. I'm very excited and honored to kick off the 2024 sponsorship series with Columbia Tools as our January and February sponsor. This is the second time Columbia has sponsored the Drywall Podcast, and I'm super grateful to them for that. Stay tuned throughout January for some exciting ice bath giveaways, all culminating into a special Rocky Mountain adventure happening at the end of February, where I'll be interviewing 2 surprise guests. Columbia Tools is a family-owned and operated business that's been rocking the drywall finishing scene for over 4 decades. Manufactures commercial-grade tools in Canada using cutting-edge machinery and all North American materials. Catch my 2-part interview with Aaron and Elliot of Columbia Tools, episodes 23 and 26, as well as my live interview with Bernie St. James, their dad and founder of Columbia Tools, on episode 54. You can also catch my full interview with Bernie on our Instagram page. Want to view this interview in its entirety, and it might be worth it because there's a lot of visual stuff on this episode that is pretty exciting to watch. Head over to our YouTube page and you can watch the whole interview there. But for now, John Hein on the 78th episode of the Drywall Podcast. Let's get into it. John Hein, what company are you working with right now?
I'm actually solo at this minute.
You're solo. What does that mean? You're just kind of helping out when you can, or I mean, what does that mean in your world?
Let me turn off these fans.
This is a real fucking drywaller interview right here. He's on site. He's having a smoke. You got your phone. It looks like you're maybe done with the second coat over there.
Yes, sir. I'm doing the sanding today. I'm gonna do minor touch-ups because I taped it like a level 4 smooth wall if I was gonna do a level 5.
Okay.
And that minors the touch-ups through the whole process.
Okay.
So this is pretty much like a quick sand. And I'm gonna prime it today, texture it, and have it done before probably 12 o'clock. The next door is on the first stage, so I'm going to end up having to catch that up and use all hot mud and then wait for that process. I don't know, maybe, I don't know.
Maybe 6.
Yep. Because I went inside the finishing house and I noticed that the the guy had all the wires done. What happened was the drywallers who hung it decided to put all the wires where they sat, and then they didn't sit there. So he went in and cut all the light fixture holes, and then
Okay.
he set all the new lights. But I taped all the wires in perfect where they sat. So they had an electrician come and pull the wires out. He set all the new holes, and then he's like, "Look, I need this all patched up and have it ready by tomorrow."
Yeah, did you tell him $50 a patch?
Hey, that's the California patch and everything. I'm being a very nice guy, and I told him I'm going to
Of
finish
course.
all this project and the next door project and his patch job for free for Christmas.
Good on you, man. Good on you. It'll
People are
it'll
not
come
used to.
it'll come back to you, John. Or should I say that it already has come back to you, dude? You to give our audience a background, we've got John Hein from Salem, Oregon. But what's interesting about John is that we had Can-Am Tools was sponsoring last month on the Drywall podcast, the entire month. And we had 4 giveaways culminating in a grand prize giveaway that John won. Now, John won, we pulled his name out of a hat. I don't know if you watched, like, I did an ice bath and, like, pulled the
Yeah,
name
I got
out.
cut out. I got cut out. I was
It
trying to
got
see who won the name, and
yeah, it was you. So so then Wolfgang and I started to message John and be like, dude, where do we send this stuff? And John's like, dude, don't message me. I don't want any of your scammy bullshit. I've been scammed before. Just like I'm not giving you any information. And so after a couple of back and forths, he realized that he did win some badass Can-Am stuff, some of which you're wearing today. You got a Can-Am hat and a Can-Am shirt. That's pretty cool.
absolutely, and you're correct on that. I mean,
But you
man,
never know, dude. I've been scammed too. My whole Facebook profile, 2023, the first day of 2023, my entire personal Facebook profile of 12 years erased, like gone because of hackers. So I have been a victim myself. That said, have you gotten a chance to use the Can-Am tools at all? Are those interesting to you?
they are, but I have not fully bust
Okay.
them out of the box to use them yet. I feel ashamed because I started
Nah.
this project already. So I figured I'd wait until I got a new project, which is not coming too far from now.
Okay.
And I'll
Cool.
be happy to learn the tools because first, I don't know any of the tools.
Okay. Oh, and then I think it's interesting too. And also, too, there is a gang of information about Can-Am tools, people that do videos. You can go to the Taping Queen has a bunch of great videos where she's running a lot of Can-Am stuff. There's just tons of information out there where you can like go and check out those tools and figure out, just how you want to tackle it.
Absolutely. I noticed that she's been using a lot of the tools and everything. There's a few people that do use the Can-Am tools and everything. And I did pull up the pamphlet and start reading everything to the T on what
Okay.
they are, but I have not fully engaged to see how to run them.
Okay. Well, we're drywallers, John. We're a little resistant to change sometimes, and we've got our systems and our methods that we do, and it's hard to switch out of that, especially if you're making money. You've got, especially today, you've got this unit you got to get done. You're not messing around with learning no new tool today. It's hard sometimes for us to take a step back, learn something, even if it's going to make the job quicker.
Absolutely.
So, John Hein, you were saying that today you're not working for a company. When you are working for a company, what company is it?
The sad part is I was just laid off from the company I worked for 10 years. I give the
Okay.
guy full on credit because I did not know drywall or anything about drywall, and he trained me to be the way I am.
Okay.
And uh, one of the reason why I was laid off, I was hit by a Jeep, hit and run on my e-bike by a Jeep leaving a job about 9:15 at night, and
Oh,
I came back less than 3 months from a broken wrist, broken nose, four broken bones in the wrist, broken
damn.
nose, stitches in the eye, small concussion, lost some teeth.
Jesus.
It happens. That was a small wreck, but lucky I survived and I recovered faster than 3 months. And I did a 9,300 board square foot house at a level 4. So if they wanted to change their concept and go suddenly to a smooth wall, all we got to do is to spray the final coat.
Okay.
And I went ahead and I did everything within 80 man hours, 4 days on, three off, two
Okay.
weeks down, you know. And the boss man tells me, I did not do any bids for the 3 months since you've been gone.
Okay.
Either go claim unemployment or I can let three people go to keep you going. And I didn't like that. So, of course, I went to the unemployment office, but I don't know how that shit works. I really don't.
Yeah, that's okay.
I kept filing stuff wrong, and I just
Yeah.
said, screw
Well, I know with unemployment, I know there's a lot of bureaucracy and it's no easy route to go. I mean, people talk about, people sitting at home kicking back collecting unemployment. It's not really that easy. And at the end of the day, it's not all that much money. You're in Salem, Oregon. Maybe I said that already, maybe I didn't. Oh, what's the name of the company? This guy that laid you off?
5-star drywall.
Five Star. Okay, so how did you get this particular job that you're on right now? Maybe you've established a little bit of a network there. People know who John is, and they're like, "Hey, man, can you come help?" There's lots of work out there, dude, for drywall finishers.
There is, but surprisingly here in Salem, it's hard to find people who are not wanting to pay for a finisher's wage. We're well, the way I look at it, I see everybody's paying under $20 an hour, and my work ethic is way more than $20 an hour. I mean, I guess
Yeah,
maybe I should accept it and then just get myself back into that system and have them raise it to show my work
yeah.
ethic.
What about piece rate?
Uh, I done the piece rate, and it I tried doing the piece rate with the 5-star homes, and he's was paying me within 18 cents a square foot.
They're cheap up there.
Yeah, and then a lot of them.
Jeez.
Yeah, I know. So I mean, surprisingly, the
I
man
know.
is a semi penny pincher, but
Yeah, I guess the Southwest is pretty cheap down here. You kind of have to know your stuff, but it's that way in different areas. Some areas aren't like that, man. Some areas they make a lot more. It's interesting, across the country and up into Canada.
absolutely. I talked to a few and a few drywallers on Instagram, and they're like, dude, I don't even work less than $500 a day. So make sure you
Right.
get.
So here's what you do when somebody says that to you, you'd be like, "Well, I'll be up there tomorrow. Do you got?" Because also too, in a lot of these places that pay well, they're looking for finishers. The other thing is that there's no finishers out there. There's no people coming up. So I think it's sought after if you have the skill of drywall finishing. Not that everybody wants to move, but if you have the capable of moving to a different location, I think you could make better money.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Are you against that or?
No, no. I mean, I guess I'm one of those type of people. Once, I mean, I've been in this house. I used to move every other like year or so, but I finally been in this one house for over 10 years. And I kind of
Okay.
settled down, and I kind of don't want to move out of that hole.
Yeah.
But life is now telling me I need to start adventuring and go out to different places, and I need to
Yeah.
explore everything. So that's where I'm working on my aviation license so I can start traveling and go help people and create a name.
Crazy. You want to like fly different places and go help people.
Yes, yes, because that's where that's anywhere but Oregon is where there's a lot of more finishing work is being done. Don't get me wrong, Oregon has a lot of finishing work to be done and everything, but I would like to be able to go to California or Arizona or
Totally.
somewhere different, and then be able to put a name out there and show them a product, or some really good work ethics. Or
That's not the only reason though that you're in the aviation. I mean, you probably enjoy like flying, right?
yeah, I've been in an airplane 33 times. The 33 third time I ended up doing skydiving. So
Okay.
I landed on the ground without a plane. It's
Yeah.
just fun to say. Waste of money,
Yeah.
waste of money.
You got to do it once. I skydived once, static line, by myself out of a plane. It was pretty sweet, kind of scary.
Yeah, it's me. I feel like I put in $200 for 15-minute ride up in a plane, and then 2 minute
Yeah.
fly down in a
Yeah.
parachute, and it's
Yeah.
over. I don't get a refund, and don't like the
Well,
dream.
yeah, you can say you skydived. How close are you to getting your pilot's license?
Uh, Far away.
This is
I've
a
been,
this is an endeavor or that you've just embarked on?
yes, yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Beginning of the year, I ended up watching my. I went to visit my sister in Southern Oregon
Okay.
over on the property, and they had a lightning strike, and I noticed that they had a fire. And we had to direct the fire department and the helicopter. There's
Okay.
very few helicopters right now that are doing water drops, and I figured that would be something I can probably push myself into if I got my aviation license and start from the bottom and then work myself to the roto and
Okay.
go further up. And I was just like thinking, I'll try a different career in my life maybe, but
Yeah.
I'm really stuck in drywall.
Yeah, yeah. We get stuck in drywall, buddy, because there's money there and it's you learn a skill and it's hard to get out, you know. Speaking of getting stuck in drywall, how old are you real quick?
I am 34 years old and I started at 24.
Okay, so you've been in the trade about 10 years. Are you first generation?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, so how in the world did you start drywalling?
I had a foster cousin, and he needed help cleaning a house while he brocaded. And as he brocaded, I went ahead and cleaned up. And he's all, my boss said, if you like this, he wants to come and talk to you. Come in Monday. And that was on a Saturday that I helped him out. And I came in and talked to him on Monday morning and started from cleaning up the house, reading blueprints, marking IBPs or WS or whatever you want to call it for the protection of the walls. At certain walls that have to be parallel.
Yeah?
And I started from there. 2, 3 years goes down. I started to learn the priming stage. After the taping is fully done, we do a priming before the texture. That way we
Okay.
can catch every shadow, uh, and then shine a halogen light within 2 inches from the wall to find the shadows.
Okay.
Uh, then I started into texture after a couple years from that, and learning how to brocade, then work the texture machine, texture card, hopper, spray card, everything that spits out a texture.
Nice. That's a good skill.
And then I learned how to repair the machine. So if it breaks on me on a job, I'll have the tools and necessary equipment or resource that I can use to get the job completed.
Okay, so did this guy, who was this again? Your cousin?
Foster cousin, I call him. Yeah, cousin.
Foster cousin. Are you a foster person?
Well, I was emancipated at 15. My mom died at cancer
I'm
when I was
sorry.
15. No, no,
Okay.
no. It's part of life. It's just you
Yeah.
can't let it get you down. You got to push forward. That's what I
Yeah.
tell everybody. It is a hard
Yeah.
stage.
Yeah.
Working since then, and I just seemed to build a gig out of this drywall. This drywall just seemed to be easy for me that I can understand and process and repeat.
Yeah, but you were only 15 at that time. You didn't start drywall until like 9 years later.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. You're right.
So what, I mean, did you struggle a lot there after losing your mom? What'd you do?
I I worked as a sous chef in this restaurant called Bentley's Grill in
Okay.
2009,
Okay.
and I did that for about a year and a half before I decided to be like, oh, this is something I don't need to do. In 2007, before then, I was hit by a truck skateboarding with a buddy because I was living with a brother.
Wait a second. You've been hit 2 times now in your life by vehicles.
Oh, no, 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 much more, much more. This year was 4 times just alone. And that was on my e-bike. And I do pay attention to the road.
Yeah. What the hell?
It's okay. Before this Jeep that hit me on the e-bike, 2 months before that wreck, I was hit by Pastor Dave and Pastor Janet.
Pastors.
Yes,
Pastor
and
Dave, Pastor Dave and Pastor Janet not paying attention.
yes,
You're on your e-bike?
yes, and I thought we can beat you. I'm like, can you repeat that one more time? I'm not sure if I heard that correctly. He goes, we seen you, but we thought we were able to turn before you can, you know, before you were going to be right next to us. And the whole time I was right next to them, so they turned right
Right.
into me. So it's just the lack of people underestimating on people on e-bikes of how
Yeah,
fast
e-bikes are much quicker than regular bike. They are.
they are. So
But
it's
still,
underestimating how fast those bikes go. I
yeah,
mean,
if you're riding a bike, you got to pay attention, and then if you're driving, pay attention to bicyclists. Like,
yes,
we all have to
yes.
watch out for each other. People get a little too aggressive behind the wheel nowadays. For sure. That's kind of some unlucky stuff, but your foster cousin that you like to call him, he gave you sort of a shot. Now, it's interesting to me that he taught you how to do texturing first. When you were learning the texturing, so did he have you going in? Did he want you just like, I'm going to teach this guy texturing so he can go in behind us and like blow out these houses? Is that kind of the way it was working?
Well, I mean, my cousin got me into the drywall industry. It was the boss, that the company owner, Bobby or
Okay.
Robert, however you want to call him, but he's the one who actually taught me all the trades, and I give him credit. Even the position I'm in now because of him, it doesn't
Okay.
matter. He still taught me all the skills and trades. So I
Okay.
still give him the kudos.
Okay.
he any person that he really wants to learn to run his equipment, he will let him take a slow stage and learn the concept of how to run it, what to do, the
Okay.
ups and downs. And that's where I learned all the texturing from him. And then
Okay.
as I started doing that, he started teaching me hand taping. And
Okay.
then as I learned how to use my six correctly, then he
Yeah.
started handing the automatic tools to me.
Okay. What tool? What was the first tool?
It was a Ames bazooka.
Oh, okay. Well, let's
And
press the pause button on that. I'm sure a lot of our listeners would like to know how in the world do you use a six correctly?
Well, if you if you
because
know how to,
because I'm telling you right now, John, you're gonna get some pushback, buddy.
oh yeah. Well, it's all depending on how well you know how to use your blades, and
That's right. That's right.
if you know how to work your blades, you can pretty much use a six or whatever blade to coat anything.
Are you a one finger on the back of the blade or a two finger guy?
It's all depending on how tight I want to go.
Oh,
If if
okay.
if it's going to be a quick nail spot, then I'll use a single two fingers together or one finger and do a slide.
Okay.
But then anytime I have to expand the blades,
Oh, then you move your fingers out.
yes,
Oh, interesting. Did Bobby teach you that method?
absolutely. So
Oh,
it's all
cool.
depending on where you put your fingers on that blade. Doesn't matter what blade, but most of the time,
Nobody ever really taught me that. I guess I was just like one finger or two fingers. This is kind of how I did it, but interesting. And do you use a box nail spotter?
I have not ever used one.
Oh, okay.
I use every other taping tool besides Can-Am or the nail spot.
Right, right. Yeah, I think the nail spotter was like one of the last tools that I ever learned, but I kind of liked it. You want to hit the screws first time by hand, I think,
So you can get all the
because
clippers.
so you get your clickers out of the way. And then second coat, though, you can do nail spotter for sure. And third coat, maybe even. But yeah. So you learn the bazooka out of the gate. He's like, here, kid, here, good luck. Here's a
Yes,
bazooka.
yes. And
Did you learn the banjo before the bazooka, or did he just throw you to the dogs?
just threw me to the dogs. Yes.
Okay, cool. And did they stand around and watch and drink coffee while you floundered with the bazooka for like an hour, or did they show you how to do it?
He showed me how to do it, but then he would go around the corner and do other tasks that he can achieve and get the job quickly done as I kept moving around.
Okay.
And he will turn off the music so he can hear every moment and spin on the bazooka.
Oh,
So if
smart.
I'm not cutting it right, pushing and pulling and cutting and whatnot with the bazooka, because if you don't do it right, you can, if you try to cut it as
Yeah.
you roll, it's gonna blade a lot more.
Fucks up your blade and it jams your tape up. Yep.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
So I can hear him in the background telling me what I'm not doing right, and
Slow down, boy.
yep, absolutely. And it's all
That's
about
funny.
the mud consistent that you put in, and if
Oh
it's not
yeah.
too runny or not too thick.
Yeah. Yeah. So this was Bobby?
Yes.
So you were with Bobby for a long time. He's your boy. Like, why'd you stand down, dude? Like, who cares? Me or these three yahoos over here? Lay them off. I'll keep my job. How come you were so, why were you
There-
so
There's,
giving?
I'm one life to three lives. So why hurt three other lives over one?
That's valiant. Um, Pretty cool. But now maybe you have an opportunity to go start making some money, man. I mean, like how are you bidding this project that you're on right now, if you don't mind my asking?
I came in and I have a tape measure that sends out a laser that does laser distance.
Okay.
And I noticed this finishing house that is now being finished was under 93 sheets of sheetrock. So that's
Okay.
less than 4,500 board square foot.
Okay.
He needed done in within a week.
Okay.
That's no problem. I was able to do it within the week.
And for how much though? I mean, were you like
Um,
you threw him out a number, $1,000, like whatever?
no, I told him 600.
Ooh, competitive.
I mean,
He liked
that,
that.
no, it's not bad. You're right. And you can see, I mean, honestly, the finishing product I
Yeah, it
mean,
looks good.
I,
No, it looks good.
I haven't sanded it nothing or nothing like that. This
It
is
looks
just
it looks good, bud. Yeah. You know what? We'll post this video to YouTube. And so some people like to watch the YouTube videos, so they'll check it out. They'll check out your work, man. And then there's certain things where we're talking about more visual aspects of the interview too. Also, if you're listening, you can go and watch this interview on YouTube and see what we're talking about if you're curious about that. Cool. So the bazooka. So how long would you say that it took you? And I mean, that's nothing to sneeze at. $600. I'm just trying to think. And you needed the work, right?
correct.
Okay, so you needed some money. Now, is this under the table? No shame.
No, no, it is. It is
Okay. All
strictly
right.
all under the table. So
Good, good. Because you know what? You can't, there's not enough there to pay for taxes.
no, you're right. You're right. And I thought
Fuck
about
those
it
guys. Are you inclined to going and getting your license and doing of that work to get your own gig going? I mean, is that something that you'd be interested in doing?
Absolutely. The cool
Okay.
part when I first walked into the aviation center and I started talking to the pilot or the CFI, which
Okay.
is certified flight instructor,
Okay.
he wanted to know a little bit about my work history, and I told him I currently am unemployed.
Okay.
And the cool part is he has the resource and center to license people for their CCB license.
What's a CCB license?
I believe I haven't looked at exact, it's the contracting. I'm dumb to make me feel really dumb right now.
No, that's okay, bud. You know what? We could look it up.
It, it's a legal liability license pretty much to be able to do a little bit bigger project, I believe, to have all your aspects covered.
This is not for flying, though. This is for drywall, CCB.
Correct, correct.
Okay. Why wouldn't you just get a smaller license to start out with and then maybe move up to a larger, like where you could do commercial and stuff like that?
Yeah, I didn't think about that. I didn't know
Yeah.
how many licenses were out there. I know
I don't
there's
either. I don't
two
either.
licenses.
Okay. And if you're listening to the bureaucracy up in the Northwest is probably heavier than someplace like Albuquerque. Like, and also to give a history to our listeners, like I've worked in Salem, Oregon. That's where I cut my teeth doing drywall. My boss was actually from Salem. I played in Hispanic Soccer League in Salem, Oregon. With all the Mexicans. And I went to college at George Fox University there in Newberg, Oregon, and we worked at Nike World Campus and Intel, Beaverton. That's where I did a lot of union stuff up there. But I know that the bureaucracy is thick. My brother-in-law and my sister are still up in Washougal, just across the river at Vancouver, Washington, right all up there is very, I don't know, rule oriented. They're very strict. So for somebody like John to get to get in the door, get your licenses and things like that, it's involved. It's more challenging than maybe other parts of the country.
Absolutely. And then I would like to get the license so that way I can have my aspects all covered and I don't have to worry too much about stuff like that. So if I end up going helping somebody, and because
Yeah,
believe people don't pay, you can put a like legal lien on their house or something like that. I'm not
right.
sure. I mean,
Yeah, like this guy could just screw you if he wanted to.
absolutely,
I mean,
absolutely.
that it protects you against that, but it also protects like somebody against like if something happens to the home. But Bobby, would he be interested in maybe throwing you some work? Have you talked to him about like, hey man, I'm thinking about doing this. Do you have any ideas for me or directions that I could go? Uh have you talked to him about that or no?
No, I haven't. We kind of lost base touch since we had
Okay.
that last one-on-one conversation about him letting me go and everything, and it was
Yeah.
heartbreaking and everything. I mean, but this is I'm not gonna lie. Within the 10 years I worked with him, I didn't go without a job for a long time, and he did let me go three other times before this one,
Okay.
and it's just because I always worked alone, and then I always end up beating him up in verbal because I always end up getting stuck with people with no common sense. Because ever since after I'm not that old, of course, but I feel like common sense got lost in the 90s.
Okay. Maybe you're kind of a stubborn guy, and when you're on the job, you're stubborn, so you're like it's hard for you to maybe work with other people.
Yes, absolutely. Well, I mean, I told a guy to go grab a bench out of the van, and he
Yeah.
went up to the second story, and he disappeared for like 20 minutes, and I didn't know what he was doing.
Yeah.
And I went out to the van, and of course the contractor and then the homeowner both were looking at me like your guy was just went upstairs. Why? I'm like, I don't know. I told him to get a bench out of the van, and he thought I
Yeah.
told him to get the bench out of the upstairs, and I'm like, no. So by the time I pulled the bench out of the van and I go back to the underpass area that I was working on, I went to go look for my tools, and next you know, I see him out over in the drain cleaning all my tools out. I'm like, hey man, I'm still doing a job. What are you doing? Because I thought you wanted me to clean. I'm like, no. So I mean, and of course, I mean, I get a little
That
stubborn.
sounds like a standard apprentice, though.
So I came across a
That's
lot
pretty
of people like
standard.
that.
That's pretty standard, buddy. Especially if you had your own business and you hire a helper, man, you're gonna have to go through that. It's hard to find a it's hard to find a good, a good helper. I'm sure you're not the only person that's had that scenario happen. It's pretty funny. Very cool.
So
Let's go back to the tools. So you learned the bazooka. How long would you say it took you to get your bazooka chops going?
uh, I'll say within the first week,
Okay.
it took me the struggle of learning how to roll it and
That's pretty
stop and
good.
cut.
Yeah.
But then
So
after
you,
that, I started gaining that process because I'm a hands-on learner, and you get in and you start learning it. You get
yeah,
build up that membrane of like, all right, stop, cut,
yeah,
drive.
yeah. So to our non-bazooka users out there, bazooka or no bazooka now? I mean, what would you say to people that are thinking about using the bazooka or are resistant to using the bazooka?
I mean, you can't like you said you can't argue with people that really want to stick with what they are used to. I mean, I've met a guy that's used the banjo, and he
Yeah,
won't bother to ever touch a bazooka, which
correct.
I totally understand. I'm like, okay, but
Okay.
if you know how to do production taping as getting your ass moving, you can do a lot with a bazooka more than a banjo. But
Okay.
I've seen videos people going pretty quick with banjos, and it's just all depending on how you know how to run the tools.
Good answer. Good answer. Yeah. I'll buy that. I'll buy that. So what's the next tool that you learn after the bazooka?
10-inch box.
Okay, then we jump into box territory, and by this time, I assume you know how to walk stilts.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, so that was probably precursor to the bazooka. You're walking stilts, spotting screws. Learning the 6 inch, I mean, probably picking out angles, uh,
Absolutely.
streaking screws and things like that. So you learn the 10 inch box and Bobby, I assume, does 10 and 12 inch box.
Yes, sir. And then he ended up buying a 15-inch tape tech,
Okay.
and I used that on a couple of houses, and most of the drywallers I ever worked with don't like to carry that 15-inch box because it's heavy.
Okay. What's the
And
advantage? What's the advantage to a 15-inch box?
if you're trying to widen out the joints a lot bigger and smoother,
Okay.
I mean, you can do it with any blade or any hand tool, but
Okay.
with oh, damn you, with the 15, I seem to cover more area and wide out that joint, and I don't know, it just made it look
Yeah.
a lot.
A lot cleaner. Maybe on your butts, bad butt joints, things like that, where you need to really bust it out.
Yeah, and
And
I
and he's using all tape tech.
yes,
Okay.
that's I guess the tools he learned off of because he started in a union job,
Okay.
and somehow his brother ended up coming across tape tech tools and everything, and he bought the tools off his brother and started his own business.
Okay.
And he's only been in business for about 20 years, so that means I've been in the drywall game for half of his career.
Yeah. So it's a while, it's long enough. It's long enough that you could probably start your own gig, but it's challenging. That I mean, running your own business has its own challenges as well.
That was the third time he let me go, is when I started buying my own tools. He thought I was starting my own business.
That's right. You said something about that. That's very interesting. So maybe he was nervous that you were going to start your own business, and so he let you go.
Well, it's really hard to say about that. But when we started arguing about it and everything, I mean, that's the demeanor I got off his input, because I go and, well, of course, I learned off of the Ames, and Ames took over, or Tape Tech took the name of Ames or whatever. I don't know how that goes, but they're pretty much the same company.
Okay,
And
yeah.
I decided to buy the carbon fiber Tape Tech, just for the
Okay.
fact that I knew that we were getting new people into the gig, and we have people running the bazooka, and then when the time I need to use the bazooka and it's damaged, nobody's taken the cause of the blame of
Yeah.
who did what. So I just thought of my own self. If I buy my own tools, nobody can go ahead and touch it and
Yeah.
destroy it. And he looks
Yeah.
at it as one, I'm trying to start my own business, and then two, that I'm trying to take leverage. So if something goes wrong, I'm like, oh, I'm not going to use my tool status against him. And I,
Well, it is your tool at that point. You didn't try and make the point to him that like, hey man, I'm just buying my own tools because I want the shit to run properly. It's
oh,
an
I
advantage.
did.
It's an advantage to you, you
That's
know?
yep. That's what I did. That's what I said, and I constantly, repetitively said that, and no, it just seems to be a hassle.
You need to plug in.
Yep. That's
Okay.
I'm just looking around.
You got a charger.
I do at my house, but I seen one laying over here, and I want to see if it works. ¿Cómo estás, amigo?
Bien, ya have the coffee.
Coffee. I'm over here on meeting.
Who's this? Who do we got?
This is the homeowner, Juan.
¿Cómo está?
Bien, ¿y usted? How are you?
Bien, bien. Dude, he's on a podcast. This is the Drywall Podcast, dude.
Yeah, the meeting.
¿Cómo se dice?
Mande.
Tu nombre.
Juan.
Juan. Nice to meet you, Juan. Me llamo Nick.
Oh, me too. A little English, okay? I understand a little English. Not too much.
Hablo poquito español, poquito.
Okay.
My house is not too far. I can walk there and grab the cord.
Dude, you're walking distance from your house? That's crazy.
Yeah,
I guess
it's kind of hard to see, but I'm right across the fence on another house.
let's go, dude. Let's go. Get to walking, man. So Juan owns that house. How did Juan find out about you?
Well, I see drywall, or not drywall, but as soon as I see a house goes up, I'm Mr. Nosy Nose,
There you
and
go.
I like to just poke my head in to see what's clicking. And
Yeah. Hey, you guys need a drywaller? Done.
yes, yes, absolutely.
Now, do you hang at all?
I've done it a couple of days, and I
Yeah.
did it with a group,
Okay.
and it became more stressful, and the nobody likes my attitude. I listen to classical orchestra music as I listen to, or do drywall.
I like it. You're kind of a dick. You're like one of those guys. Nobody wants to work around you.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
But you know what? As long as we know, John, it's
Well,
okay.
I'm all about perfection and everybody doing something, you know? I mean,
Okay.
if I got a guy on my team, and if I'm able to do my job and his job at the same time, and he's just standing around, what's the point of having him on the team? And
Yeah, that's tough. You have to be kind of in alignment, when you're working with other people, there's like aspects, and not that I'm the best at it, but when you're working with other people, you have to allow for, people to be idiots. It's okay. They're not going to do it the way that you do it. So, but it is challenging to work with other people for sure. Yeah.
no, yes, yes. Well, I mean, just for example, I told a guy I left extra tape on a corner just to see how he would do, and I told him I don't need extra tape on the corner, so you have to use your blade, pull out your six, and cut off that little corner and pull off the wall, and
Do not, first of all, that is not a harsh request. Do not leave extra tape in the corner. Cut that shit tight. It should be right where it needs to be. Am I wrong?
yes, yes, and
Okay.
the first thing he does is he overlaps all the other tapes, and I'm like, I just literally told you less than
Yeah.
3 minutes not to
And he
do that.
was he was thinking you were saying like to do that.
Yeah, but he
Yeah.
totally looked at me and understand. Okay, I'll pull off the tapes. I won't. And he did like two corners correctly, but then on the third one, when I turned my back, he let it overlap, and I just like, oh man, are you like trying to
Yeah.
mess with my head, or are you trying to?
But that's good to know about yourself, John, that like, okay, so you like to work solo. That it's a really good thing to know about yourself. It really is. And we're back at the homestead. We're at John's home. We've walked from the job site to your house. Love it. It's a traveling episode of the Drywall Podcast. Let me ask you this. Have you listened to the Drywall Podcast yet? Have you listened to some episodes?
Yes, and the one I started first listening to with
Okay.
is I forgot her name. She has the black hair, and you guys started
Lydia.
talking about being safe and OSHA approved.
Oh. Oh, Gloria Fluentis.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's from New York. She's a real go-getter, that girl. Ooh, it's dark over there now.
Oh yes, yes. I just went in the room and
Okay, so here's a question for you. Now, you don't have to walk back to the job if you don't want to. You could hang out at your house. And why wouldn't you just hang out at your house and do the interview from the beginning if you're that close to the job?
well, I mean, I started early this morning, and I figured I was going to
Okay.
get a start and start busting stuff out,
Okay.
but then I didn't realize the time was not on my side. That's one thing
Okay.
I learned about drywall. Drywall, time is essence.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I mean, I figured I was going to try to be Mr. Macho and get a lot of stuff done.
We're fine, man. If you want to cruise back over to the job, sometimes when people move around, I lose internet
Okay,
connection. But
okay.
we're fine. We're fine. We're not losing any connection or anything. If you want to walk back over, however you want to work it, man. We're easy over here at the Drywall Podcast. You can do, no two episodes are the same. What'd you think of Gloria's interview? What'd you think of her? Crazy.
Yes, yes. And the sad part is I don't fall under any of the categories of the rule, because I listen to you and her debate on people doing stuff unsafe, but the sad
Yeah,
part
yeah.
is in drywall industry, it's very hard to harness yourself on a
Yeah.
two-stage gaffling or
Yeah. Yeah.
some of the maneuvers that we do
Yep.
that requires the unsafetiness. I
I
mean,
agree. I agree. That's why I was digging a little bit there. And that's why I said you watch your own ass. If I'm up on the scaffold doing something unsafe, it ain't nobody's fault but my own if I fall, you know, like that. It's
yes,
like, same as you're on an e-bike too. And I'm not saying you're being unsafe or anything like that, but you have to watch. That fucking car is going to cut you off. Like,
no, no,
because they're idiots. They don't care.
absolutely.
So, like everybody's like, oh, I'm on a bike. I'm on a bike. It's like, get out of the fucking road, you know? Like, yes, you're on a bike and people in cars should watch out for you. But the reality is, that people drive like idiots. And if you're on a bike, you're taking your life into your own hands, you know?
Yeah.
Like that's the reality. Like it doesn't matter that they're supposed to watch out for you in a car. They don't.
No,
Boy.
you're correct on that, and it's the same thing on stilts. I mean, people think I've been on stilts for years to do what I do, but
Sure.
I didn't have to be on stilts for it. It's just knowing the fact that if you're in something that you can be comfortable on,
It
and you
looks
know your awareness and everything, then
yeah,
you
yeah.
can perform.
Good point. Are you
But
looking in the fridge right now? Are you grabbing
no,
something out of the fridge?
no, I have
Oh my
uh
God, that's cool. A traveler.
yes. So
A,
I have you on charge.
that's cool. It's like a travel buddy charger.
Yeah, 300 watt generator, electric generator that you can charge from solar panels.
Oh, that's very cool. That's very cool. Are you kind of a prepper? You kind of a
Yes.
prepper type? Yeah?
Yeah. I have a lot of stuff I have like that. So when I go on a travel or something like that, everything
Yeah.
can go right. I should have brought this battery jack with me so I can, because I didn't realize that my phone didn't charge last night.
That's okay. It makes the interview interesting. I've been having fun with this one, John. You're in an interesting spot right now. Do you think that you'll stick with drywall?
Yeah. I spent way too much money on tools to let it go. I
Yeah.
just picked
And
up
you
a
did you did buy that carbon fiber bazooka, correct? So
correct, and I went ahead
that
and
I mean, what did that set you back? Like $1,400?
19.
Jesus Christ, that's a lot of money to drop on a carbon fiber taper when you don't even run your own crew. That boss should have been like, dude, thanks a lot. You know what? I'll kick you down a couple $100 so that you can run a fucking good tool on my job. What a dick. Like, no, sorry, no offense, Bobby, but like, apparently you were easy to let go of, apparently there's a bunch of people ready to fill your spot, you know. I don't get it. My guy, Jack, like I buy him tools because he's making me money with those tools. I get him we try out new trowels all the time. I buy him. I get him hawks when he needs them.
Absolutely,
He's making
absolutely.
money. And if he wants to go do a side job, I'm like, yeah, go make some money.
Hey,
Like, I get it.
Bobby wasn't against doing side jobs as long as I wasn't stealing customers, and
Right.
he looks at it as free practice. He doesn't have to pay for it.
Well, I still think there's like a relationship there where you could be like, hey, Bobby, like I got my own thing going on now, just like you were scared of, like me going on my own. Well, thanks for laying me off 4 times. Like I finally got my own job. And if you have any overflow, let me know, because a lot of times those guys will get little jobs they don't want to take on and they'll throw it your way, man. And the only thing I think you have to work on at this point is upping your price, and the more clients you have, the more practice you'll get at pricing yourself correctly.
Absolutely, and that's not the only bazooka I bought. I mean, I also got a was it Columbia Predator,
Okay. Okay, you got a
another carbon fiber.
Predator. Okay, nice. And you bought that?
Yeah, that was 1,700, $200
Damn.
less than. Yeah, it's two hundred bucks
Okay.
less.
All right. So between the Predator and the Tape Tech, which one do you like better? And hey, Aaron, the owner of Columbia Tools, is going to be listening, but don't let that sway your opinion, dude. Which one? Speak freely.
No, no, I'm not gonna lie. It seems like the Predator rolls a lot better, has a cleaner. I mean, they both cut the same. Don't get me
Okay.
wrong.
All right.
But the backstop when you get out of it in the mud and everything on the rolling or the metal roller or
Yeah.
sprocket or whatever it's called. I need to learn my tool.
Yeah, that's okay.
It has that cable and you can hear it do a small click.
Yeah.
Well, this didn't do a small click and the cable line ended up snapping.
On the Tape Tech.
Exactly. Yes.
Okay. All right. So maybe there's some slack, like a little bit of slack that causes tension on that cable on the Tape
Yes.
Tech design. That's a design flaw.
So I mean, and I waited too long for the insurance. This one seems to roll out a lot cleaner and smoother. Should I turn a light? I'll turn on a light.
Yeah, sure. Let's check it out.
See, it's engaged now. When it's off gauge, you push it in. I'm not sure if you know how to run the
Yeah.
bazooka.
Yep.
So it's now off gauge.
That's unlocked. Yeah.
Yep. And you can hear it very smallly. You hear that doom.
Yeah, I do.
That's the release gauge of telling you it's out and everything. And I didn't get that with the Tape Tech, sadly.
Okay. Interesting.
Yep. It blew the cable, and well, I need to repair the Tape Tech.
Yeah. But also too smart to have two bazookas because that cable goes out. You're going to be a little bit of time sending that in, getting it fixed or whatever. There's probably a location in your area where you could get that fixed at. But then boom, you got a Predator that you can run. Doesn't slow you down any. That's cool.
And the weights are semi similar, so I mean I can't debate on what one's technically heavier or unless I get like a scale and weigh it out.
Okay, cool. This would
So
be
they
cool. This would be a cool podcast to watch for people to watch because there's a lot of visual
Yeah.
stimulation. That's
I hope I inspire people or people love this podcast. I mean, I'm not. This is my very first time doing a podcast or any kind of
Yeah.
interaction with a
No,
person.
it's okay. It's okay. We're like, you did great, man. This has been fantastic, and I really appreciate your time. I know you're working on this job, and but this is what it's about, John. That people that are in the trenches doing the work, using these tools. We have owners of companies that listen to this podcast. You can listen to my interview with Aaron and Elliot, the owners of Columbia, and their dad, Bernie, who started Columbia Tools. Cool dudes. Wolfgang with Can-Am. I have an
Yes.
interview with Wolfgang. So if you look down into the archives of the podcast, you can check them out when you don't want to be listening to classical. Now, one question would be, what classical music do you like listening to? And also a statement, fuck those guys if they don't want to listen to a little bit of classical. I don't know if classical is like my favorite, but do you use the earbuds? And then, what are you listening to?
I usually have my JBL boombox,
Okay.
and that's I mean it's full on waterproof and all that kind of stuff, so I can drop drywall on it and hose it off if it's necessary.
Yeah. Cool.
So it became a really good work tool.
And you're listening to like Beethoven and shit.
Yes, absolutely.
Oh, okay. Classical. Okay.
Yes.
Tchaikovsky and
Yep. Classical orchestra. Yes.
okay.
Because
No opera. No opera? You like opera?
Yeah. Once in a while, opera will come on, and I do like to listen to that and everything. I mean, I don't understand some of the words that they're saying because it's either in French or some other type of language, but never in English.
What's your favorite classical composer?
I can't say I have a favorite. I mean, I
Okay.
listen to all of them, and
I enjoy the guitars. I definitely enjoy the violins.
Okay.
And sometimes when any other type of instruments that come on, I mean, it's 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 all interesting to me. I mean, it just sounds
Yeah.
real nice, and depending on if it's upbeat or slow beat. If it's upbeat, I like to listen to it for on finishing work.
Okay. That's cool.
Slow beat. It's on the slow days, and that's when I'm just trying to push stuff around, and I'm kind of irritated. So I'll just listen to the lower
Okay.
stuff. And
Yeah.
a lot of people bring in earphones or earbuds, and they just like, I'm tired of listening to elevator music.
Not that I'm a huge classical fan, but I can listen to and appreciate classical music. And if somebody had classical music on my job site, I get into that shit, man. It would be fine. But also, pearl of wisdom. What would you, if you could bestow a pearl of wisdom on the drywall community? You've got a shot here now to tell everybody in the drywall community something super rich from the archives of John Hein. What would it be?
Just put passion into your work, I guess. I mean, anything that you do, more passion you put into it. Anything I do, any type of work I do, I throw passion into it. From doing drywall or picking up horse shit, it doesn't matter what it is.
Yeah, yeah.
If you put enough passion into your own work ethics, people will see it and appreciate it.
Okay.
That's I'm not sure how to respond on that part, but
I like it. I like it. Yeah. Be passionate about what you do. And why is that? Why would you say that is?
because if you're just out there just to get a quick buck, you're not going to show you're not going to show your work. I mean, it's just going to be like somebody's out there just trying to do what they need to do to get money off of you.
And
I like
people,
to like
I think people know too. People know when you're just showing up to get a paycheck.
I mean, yeah, some of the people's work looks really good and everything, but what about the aftermath and the after workers that are coming in of the finishers, because I lay floor paper down to protect that floor. So when I tape, I'm a messy taper.
Yeah.
I'm a clean taper, but I drop some mud here and there. And
Yeah.
we walk around, we leave footprints.
Yeah.
Who comes in after the drywaller? The floor person,
Right.
the trim. I mean, more
Let
clean
me,
you keep your.
do you leave your outlet boxes clean for the electricians?
When I fully finish the job and before I leave the job, I make sure I pick up all the floor paper. I clean out
Okay.
all the electrical boxes. I scrape
Okay.
the windows and clean the windows. So when the painters come in and they do their painting and they have to tape against the windows, they're not battling against the drywall.
Use a shop vac to get in there.
Yes, shop
Okay.
back and a rag.
Okay.
I do, and I go on that full cleaning stage. And if it's a level 5 wall, smooth wall, then I go ahead and caulk certain corners, so the painters
Okay.
don't have to. It
Okay.
leaves one less step for the next person that they have to struggle and show up on the job and be like, dang, drywaller didn't, he left a whole bunch of mud in the box.
Right.
Or the floor person comes in, he has to spend 2-3 hours scraping the floor from the drywaller, which is not in his schedule. So now he has to push his schedule back. And it's a chain reaction. As soon as you take longer on the job, now you have to reschedule for the next person and push them out before they have to come back in for the next process. I mean,
I
it's
like
it's a
it.
big chain reaction.
I think if you have that philosophy, I think you're going to have a lot of success, John. Thank you so much for being on the Drywall Podcast today. I really appreciate your time and your insight. This has been fun, right?
Yes, absolutely. Oh, and I want to throw something else out there that we didn't get
Yeah,
to.
let's hear it.
There's been a lot of times I've been out in the woods, and I'm going to be one of the drywallers that carry a 40 on his side
Okay.
if I'm out in the woods because I had a bear come at me twice now.
You're kind of an unlucky guy, I would say.
I consider myself the Murphy's Law.
Yeah, no doubt.
Like
Crazy.
so,
Now wait, did you have to use your firearm on the bear?
I was about to, but the homeowner came out of his vehicle because he showed up right on that time, and he went full charging at the black bear.
Crazy.
And that's what I told him. I'm like, who in the right mind would run at a bear? Because they're more scared of you than you or them. I'm like,
Some bears, some bears. Yeah, yeah.
it's depending on what the animal is and if they're in sickness or hunger. It's all depending on their life.
Crazy. So your other point of advice would be to carry a 40 if you're going to go into the woods.
Yeah, some kind of protection if you're working alone and doing a
Oh,
massive house.
okay. Yeah. Be aware.
Yes, be aware. Just
Be,
be
be
aware.
aware. Be aware of bears.
Yeah.
First of all, have passion in what you do, and watch out for fucking bears.
Yes. Yes.
Cool. John, well, maybe we'll get to see each other if I get up that way. Maybe we can wrangle a job up in Port, like a Fresco Harmony job up in that area. If I had any Fresco Harmony to do, now I got a guy that I could pull from Salem, so that's cool.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I plan on getting your sample pack and showing a bunch of people that I do know.
You got a sample pack, right?
I haven't received it yet that I know of. I signed up for it.
We'll have to figure that out. We'll nail it down, but if I haven't sent you one, then we'll get you one, man. Thank you very much. We'll talk soon.
Yes, absolutely. Have a great day.
All right, you too, Pat. Shout out to John Hein for being with us on the Drywall Podcast today. I appreciate your time and your knowledge, and I look forward to seeing how you do with your business in the future. Also, you will be the proud owner of a sweet swag bucket from CSR just for coming on the Drywall Podcast and sharing your story. Shout out to Columbia Tools for sponsoring this episode of the Drywall Podcast. Columbia Tools, they don't just talk the talk, they walk the walk. At Columbia, customer service is their battle cry. Their top priority is giving you a grade A experience from start to finish. Got a question, concern? They're ready to tackle them head on by email or phone, or even on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok messages. And be sure to check out their YouTube page as well for detailed how-to videos. Their maintenance videos are the secret sauce, and kick-ass videos will keep your tools in prime condition. Thank you so much for joining us on the Drywall Podcast today. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Join us next week as we have part 4, Adventures in Drywall, with our good friend Kevin Bush, coming back to us from the great state of Montana. But until then, I hope you all have an amazing weekend as we endeavor into 2024. And remember, keep drywalling.